Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the World Wrestling Federation developed a little bit of an attitude. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Well, that's one way to break the smother.
Jim Mateo.
You know, guys, I think Jose could use some different music because he's far from being a sexy boy.
Oh, Christ, yes. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one pay-per-view at a time. That's right, folks. This is a pay-per-view episode, so pay-per-view rules are in effect. For one of the many, many examples of those, you can check out any of our pay-per-view episodes in the archives, so we're just going to get right down to it here. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about In Your House 10, Mind Games. Mind Games aired on September 22nd, 1996, and was recorded at the Core State Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Features Vince McMahon, Mr. Perfect, and Jim Ross on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then, let's get into it. Behold the face of madness, and pray that this man can stop the insanity. The video package for the main event was a repeat, but the video for the Undertaker Goldust match was brand new, and that was good shit, pal. I especially liked the phrase that a battered ego is Goldust's playground. Then a new video package on the main event. I had to stifle a laugh at the petting zoo voiceover stressing how Shawn Michaels is virile. It's a very specific word with a very specific meaning. And I can only imagine that Vince McMahon was screaming at petting zoo, "Call him virile, goddammit! He's a stud." And speaking of, Vince McMahon's roaring voice introduces himself, Mr. Perfect, and Jim Ross there. Will Shawn Michaels lose his mind? Anything can happen as we go into our first match of the night. Savio Vega defeats Justin Hawk Bradshaw in a Caribbean strap match in 7 minutes and 9 seconds. I didn't realize that this was a Caribbean strap match going into this. Did we have any notification of that at all?
No, I mean, if anything, I thought it would have been like a Texas bull rope match or something because we had Bradshaw smacking around everyone with that bull rope.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be the rematch.
Well, I mean, at this point, I kind of feel like Savio's being neglected here now. He's been jobbing out, and it's not like he's been jobbing out to shitty people, but now this, like, I don't know, at least he's getting a paycheck. Savio cuts a decent promo for us backstage, and we're informed that he was in a match against Marty Jannetty in the free-for-all right before this, so a double paycheck for Savio. That kind of helps. I'm glad he's getting paid, but I wish it was in different matches than these. I thought it was hilarious that as soon as Savio and Justin went out to the ring, the crowd started chanting ECW, and I didn't know why at first, until right there, right up against the railing, the fucking Sandman and Tommy Dreamer are there. I didn't see them there before. I don't know if they just walked in. I don't know, but Sandman spits beer at Savio and then beats the can against his face before they are exited from the building. And, you know, I know ECW had a working relationship with the WWF at some point. I can't remember if this is the right piece in the timeline, but I was really left wondering if this was staged or not, because they are in Philly, and who knows the way that they used to do things. I enjoyed it when Savio started lighting Bradshaw up. He whipped the shit out of Bradshaw, or as JR put it, like a government mule. One thing about this match that I feel it had over the Austin match was the way that Bradshaw was strong enough to really jerk Savio back from the corners. It was really dramatic. Savio sold the hell out of it. It was a good visual. But the finish, though, felt like a direct knockoff of the Austin match, the way that Bradshaw was falling over, like the momentum yanked Savio into the final corner. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's like the exact same finish from the Austin match.
It is.
Yeah, and so I mean that's it. That was the finish. We're at the end of it. This wasn't a bad way to start things out. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't a barn burner either. Both guys worked really well. I thought they did a great job of no-selling the ECW interference, and I ended up going with 3 stars for this because while this was not a match of the year candidate, I can't honestly point out a single thing that was wrong with it. Joe, what did you think of it?
Well, I want to talk first about the ECW guys. My eyes were so focused on Tommy Dreamer at first because I saw him first, and then obviously the Sandman with the beer. Did you guys see Paul Heyman?
Yeah.
I missed Paul Heyman.
I missed him too.
He was like right behind them.
Yeah, I missed him too, but I read in the Observer that he was there. But the way they shot this, obviously this is a work, but the way they shot this made it look like it was real because they weren't really focused on those guys. They were kind of trying to pan away, and Vince was like, I apologize for what's going on here. You know, they did a really good job at that to make it look like it was real. But the fact that this is in Philadelphia too, I mean, the older I get, the more I appreciate the location of these events. They always talk about the Garden and how it's so special, and I realize that now, you know, after watching these. But Philadelphia is a special place. I mean, I've spent time there working, going to events there. My wife is from Philadelphia. They love beating people up. Like that's what they love. I mean, this is the land of hardcore, right? The birthplace of hardcore. So this is a special location, and what a great way to kick off the show with having these guys there and having a strap match. I wasn't complaining about that. I liked the match. I didn't love it. I didn't like that it was basically the same finish that we saw from that Savio and Stone Cold match, but I don't know. The match was good. They beat the shit out of each other with a strap. I gave it 2 stars.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with this match for the most part, I think is the best way to put it. One thing a little annoying when we start off, Bradshaw is doing a couple things, bending the rules, and Harvey Whippleman just completely loses control. But I did like JR taking him to task for it, though. He pointed out that Harvey Whippleman was not doing his job properly here. But yeah, it was a complete shock to me when we saw the Sandman and Tommy Dreamer out here. I guess from my memory, the time matches up. 96 is when they start to have their collaboration with ECW. You both pointed out what a perfect time to do it when you're here in Philadelphia, the home of ECW. So I'm excited to see where this collaboration is going to go. To be honest, I thought the action in the ring was very solid. These two guys really whipped on each other. I mean, you could hear it throughout the arena, and they didn't really lighten up. They kind of took it to each other for this entire match.
Yeah.
The only thing that was the big disappointment is the complete duplicate ending that we had here. That really took it down. I probably would have been with you, Bartlett, giving this a 3-star, but that completely regurgitated ending ended up pushing it down to a 2-star, unfortunately.
What did Dave Meltzer have to say, Joe?
Dave Meltzer gave this a 1.25 stars. He mentioned that not only did the finish duplicate the last strap match we saw, but he said it was the same finish as in almost every strap match.
Well, that's pretty fair criticism, I guess. I've never really seen that many strap matches. Savio's won 30-something in a row, apparently.
Close to 40 at this point now.
He is a legend.
Yeah. Well, as we move on throughout the pay-per-view, we get reminded of the existence of our next match here, and I died a little inside. We go to Jim Cornette. Cornette cuts a pretty decent promo on Jose Lothario, and that's set against a video of Letherio training in a gym. The implication here being that Cornette has been training his mouth while Letherio has been training his body. And this video package takes us into our next match. Jose Lothario defeats Jim Cornette by pinfall in 57 seconds. The importance of this match was automatically indicated to us by the fact that we get video footage of Razor and Diesel assaulting Savio Vega in the hallways leading to the locker room. Cornette looked disgusting, and that's not a fat thing. I'm not trying to do a fat shaming thing. It's just that no human being should ever wear that much spandex, ever. And by the way, Vince McMahon was doing all of the fat shaming here. He was really lighting into corny on that. Then Lothario came out, and my first note was, can we get this over with now, please?
Yes.
But then Lothario called for one more time. But yeah, so that's the end of my notes. Less than a minute. Obviously, this was a dud. It should have never been on our screens to begin with. And, I would have said that it was a waste of time, but it didn't even successfully do that because it was so fucking short. Ryan, what did you think of it, please?
Cornette, you mentioned when he came out. At first, I thought he was wearing padding to make him look like the Michelin Man. And yeah. I'm not trying to shame the guy. He just has a very oddly shaped body, especially highlighted by this spandex outfit that I'm guessing Vince McMahon forced him to wear. We all
Vince
know
McMahon was probably the seamstress for that outfit.
Put it on.
And then we have Jose Lothario. He comes down, takes his shirt off, and I'll admit, for a 136-year-old, he wasn't in bad shape. But then the match starts, and it's a complete waste of time. A complete waste of a minute, at least.
Yeah.
The complete drizzling shits. Actually, if it was longer, I would have really been upset. I feel like they maybe let us off the hook a little bit with how short this was. But mainly, why was this on a pay-per-view? This should have been on the free-for-all, if anything. Anything. So clearly a dud. How could it be anything else?
This is, again, I feel like I've said this before, where this is supposed to be comedy, which I don't mind comedy in wrestling, but
it's got to be funny.
Yeah, it's got to be funny. It's got to come from the talent. Like Mick Foley stabbing himself in the leg with a pen to regain feeling. That's funny. Undertaker hiding in a casket. That's funny. This is not. This is just not funny at all. Thankfully, it was only 57 seconds of dud wrestling, if you even want to call it that.
Prime dud material.
Prime dud material, and Dave Meltzer gave it -1 star.
Sometimes in cases like these, I wonder just how far we would go if we ended up using negatives. But I think I'm happy with the dud rating, though. Ryan, you made a good point, though. I mean, this is kind of making the best of a bad situation. Like,
I actually thought when I saw this, I was like, maybe I should give this 1 star because it was way shorter than what I expected. I thought for sure this was going to last way too long, and it did not. So I guess that is a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, something that is not a positive, that's the mild man Mark Marrow. We go backstage to the Superstars line, and we get a kind of a funny scene here. On the one side of the screen, the mild man, Mark Marrow, is there yelling at some poor kid on the phone while Sable stands behind him. And then there's like a reverse mirror flip on the other side. Sonny is standing behind Farouk yelling at some poor kid on the phone while Farouk is just sitting there virtually silent. This is the build for that Intercontinental title match on Raw tomorrow night. But then here comes Brian Pillman down to the ring, and it was good to see him walking here. He's off his crutches, and he's mobile, so that was a good thing to see. We got reminded of Brett's comments and came back to Pillman calling Philadelphia garbage with some pretty strong reality-based statements, including references to drug addiction and welfare fraud. Then Pillman brings out Owen Hart, and Owen looks happy as hell to be there. And Owen did a great job. I loved this interaction between them, and I especially loved that they were there to push the angle with Steve Austin calling out Bret Hart. Lo and behold, the man himself comes out, and this would have been one of those great instances to have his Shattered Glass style music, but we're not there yet. He just has his usual thing. But that doesn't diminish from the promo that he cuts. Stone Cold Steve Austin cut an amazing promo. I fucking loved it. It contained more cuss words than the previous 3 years of WWF wrestling combined. And it was still pretty tame, too. I mean, just hell and damn and the usual kind of Stone Cold Steve Austin thing. But, coming off of the cartoon era, or whatever you want to call it, it was a shock. It was a noticeable shock. And then that moved away to a video package of Mark Henry touring Philadelphia. So, since that last match was barely a match, I did want to pause and get reactions here. This promo from Stone Cold felt like an enormous leap forward towards what would become the Attitude Era. Ryan, what did you think of this segment, please?
To start off, we have Brian Pillman. He makes his way down to the ring, and he has a shirt on that says, "I don't call 911," with a picture of a gun underneath it. And man, is that some great foreshadowing with him and Stone Cold. They remind us of the Bret Hart footage that he called them both a liar. And then we have the great spot of Pillman just ripping into Philadelphia, saying the founding fathers are rolling in their graves over what's happening there. And then he introduces Owen Hart, and immediately I'm thankful, as we predicted last week, he is sans cast. So that appears that whole storyline is done with. Owen does a great job here, and I loved that he brought up the bad blood between him and Bret. Owen explains that Bret has finally admitted Owen is the best Hart brother, but nothing could compare to Stone Cold getting introduced here. And as you said, it would have been great to have the glass-shattering music, but outside of that, we have every other piece of Stone Cold here. Yeah. He now has on a vest that says Austin 316. It's got skulls on the back. He's coming down in a pair of jeans. This promo that he cut was just classic badass Stone Cold. We just need the music now. But this segment, even though it was a pay-per-view and we're doing interviews, it was compelling and it kept my attention.
Yeah, Pillman is unbelievable. He's so great at what he does here. For a guy who has to be so frustrated that he can't wrestle, I mean, he's really making the most of it. I mean, he's cutting the promo on Philly, and then he brings Owen out, and he's, yakking it up with Owen. And then when Austin comes out, he's still making these great facial expressions, and just the way that he's asking Austin the questions, like he's a lunatic.
Yeah.
Everything from him was great here. And I like the swerve that they pulled on us here. It was like, okay, are they doing something with Pillman and Owen and Bret? But now we know, okay, it's the setup of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret the shit man Hart, as Austin would say. Made a reference to, what did he say? Bret reminds me of the stuff that comes out of the south end of the chicken or something.
Yeah.
Vince is hilarious too, because he's apologizing during the whole thing. Like, oh, we're sorry for this. We're sorry. we didn't mean for this to happen. Not that they said anything terrible, but I mean, it was just really good stuff from everybody. And yeah, Ryan, like you said, this is probably the most Stone Cold that we've seen Austin look so far.
This was just a great segment all around, and like you said, just the foreshadowing of it all. And I'm getting really, really excited for Austin Hart. I think that it's been forever since I've seen that, and I can't wait. This is the kind of build-up that is effective. I want to see it, unlike so much of this other shit. This next match isn't included in that, though. That's our next match of the night. Owen Hart and the British Bulldog defeat the Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart, with Sonny by pinfall in 10 minutes and 59 seconds to win the WWF World Tag Team Championships. I like that we were apparently getting a change up with the Guns. They were hinting towards a divide between Billy and Bart here at the start, with Billy kind of hanging on Sonny and Bart getting down to business and getting down to the ring and getting frustrated with the two of them. I loved the poster of Sonny being defaced by the Bulldog and Owen, and I also really loved Vince ribbing the Bulldog with the "he wasn't even there" line on commentary. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
That was pretty great. I also liked that we finally have a fully heel Smoking Guns. That's indicated by the switch to black denim jeans instead of blue. I really liked Billy and Owen to start. They both worked really well together. And Bart and the Bulldog, not as much. That just felt like they didn't know how to work with each other. It wasn't anything explicit that was going wrong with it. It just looked a little awkward. Bart was working hard on selling, though, and I really liked it when Bart was yelling, "Oh, shit!" when the Bulldog put a knee to Bart's thigh. It also felt and looked like Owen and the Bulldog were really getting over here, which I definitely liked. The crowd was really behind them in places. Owen put a great-looking enziguri to Bart, but once again, I have to note that Billy Gunn overacting to things, it took me out of it a little bit. Clarence Mason's interference in this match was animated, and I think that's what I like most about Mason. He's usually intelligent in what he says, but he's always very animated in the way that he says it, and that's something that, for whatever reason, is just really engaging to me.
But he has no business being out there.
No business whatsoever. Jim Ross was the most exciting part of the finish. Whenever we got there, he was yelling, "New champions! New champions! New champions!" And that really took me back to the Attitude Era. I do have to admit, though, that it was great to see gold on Owen and the Bulldog. It has been far too long for both of them. And then Sonny got on the microphone, and I didn't give any kind of shit about that. It didn't make sense to me that she would cut a promo on the Smoking Guns for losing the belts, and then she decides to leave them. Like, one loss. It's the one fucking loss they've had with them, with her, and I don't know.
It's for the better.
It is absolutely for the better, but it doesn't make sense. And that's the end of this segment. And guys, I have to say that just all around, it sure was great to have an actual serious tag team match between two teams that individually work well. And it was a breath of fresh goddamn air compared to what we're coming off of with some of the shit the tag team division has been in. Maybe that happiness is making me overly generous, because I ended up going with 4 stars on this match. I enjoyed seeing a legit tag match. Joe, what did you think?
Yeah, you make really good points there. It's been a while since we've seen a really good tag match like this. Even though it was kind of a confusing thing, a heel team versus a heel team, the crowd sort of helped with that, because they were clearly behind Owen Hart and British Bulldog during this entire match. Did you guys catch the Bulldog leading a chant during the match?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The chant was, "Bart sucks Billy."
I did not catch that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that part.
Yeah, so clearly this Philadelphia crowd is behind Owen Hart and British Bulldog, and there was some really good wrestling in this match. I mean, especially when Owen Hart was in there with either Billy or Bart. Vince also called Billy Barry as they were making their entrance. I don't know if you guys heard that. But yeah, I mean, Owen was just really working his ass off here. And like you said, Bartlett, I'm really glad that he's got some gold around his waist again. And for it to be with the Bulldog, hopefully going to be a little bit of a better tag team run than his run with Yokozuna.
Yeah.
As far as the Sonny stuff, I agree with you. I could not care about this any less. This promo that she does at the end and firing them. I don't know if that's like the start of them breaking up the Smoking Guns or what's going on, but to me, Sonny as a manager, I think that she fits in the best with the Smoking Guns, but it just seems like they don't really know what they want to do with Sonny. Like, Sonny is way over, but they don't know what they want to do with her, and it's pretty clear. But for the match, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I thought it was a good match and pretty good creative for the ending of the match as well.
Yeah, this was a breath of fresh air, like you both stated. I mean, to have us actually focus on a tag team match was shocking. we didn't go away into a split screen and start talking about some other match or anything. We actually focused on this match, and for the most part, all people involved worked well together, I thought. from the beginning, we have, Sunny brings down her big poster, and we see that the Bulldog and Owen have added some classic elementary school add-ons to the picture with like a goatee and glasses, and the way the fan reacts. And I imagine the whole purpose of this was to set Owen and Bulldog up as the good guys, because, if you're making the crowd laugh, they're going to be on your side. And I think this also explains why we got the big poster last week.
Yeah.
Joe, you pointed out how, maybe people that didn't see the last pay-per-view didn't know about this canvas, so they needed to make sure everyone knew about it before going in here. And it worked. It did its job. I'm not going to go too much over the moves and stuff that happened here, because you both have stated Owen and Billy look great together. Owen and Bart look great together. Bulldog and Bart, there were a few things there that could have looked a little bit better, but it was still solid. And for the most part, they kept things fairly fast going. It was clear by the end of this match who the heels and who the baby faces were. I wonder if that's going to continue past this match. I'd be excited to see if it would. I mean, we had that brief footage at the beginning with, it looked like Mason tricked a injured Cornette into signing something that I assume is giving him control of this tag team. So I don't know if that's also going to be part of their transition or turn, but yeah, this was a really solid tag team match. The shit with Sunny at the end, as I already stated during your comments, Bartlett, they were stupid and didn't make sense, but as far as I'm concerned, for the better. So whatever we got to do to get there, let's get past it, and like we do with so many other things, we'll just forget about it. I'm with you, Joe, though. I couldn't go quite a 4-star, but I thought this was a solid 3-star match.
What'd Meltzer have to say, Joe?
He didn't seem to enjoy it very much, but he gave it 2.25 stars. He said the match itself was a disappointment considering who was involved and the fact that it was a title change.
Well, I mean, maybe he would have preferred to have the champions take on TL Hopper and Freddie Joe Floyd.
Probably, yeah.
As long as it was in the Japanese strong style.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving along, we need to stop in and visit Kevin Kelly. He's down in the bowels of the Core States Arena. He's there with Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer cuts a promo, and I wasn't quite able to get what Paul was saying with that. Mankind, on the other hand, he lays down quite an amazing promo, including the line, when Kevin Kelly asks what Mankind has in store for Shawn Michaels, Mankind replies with misery and destiny. Fan-fucking-tastic. I loved it. If only those good feelings could continue into our next match. Mark Henry defeats Jerry the King Lawler by submission in 5 minutes and 13 seconds. And, my previous comment there about trying to maintain some kind of awesomeness, this is what I was referring to. Once Lawler started coming down the entryway, jawing on the microphone, of course, I thought to myself, when will we ever get away from this? I am so fucking tired of Jerry Lawler talking.
You mean like the stand-up comedy routine?
Yes. Because when we first started this podcast, I never thought that I would be saying that. Yeah. Because I love Attitude Era Lawler. He's one half of the best commentary team ever. And I don't know. This shit, I don't remember this shit from whenever I was a kid and watching this. Maybe it's because I've blocked it out, but I don't know. We need to just not have as much of this. It never works. It's always too much. Sorry, I just had to get that out because it's really starting to get on my nerves quite badly, and I don't want to think that way about Jerry Lawler. Mark Henry looked ridiculous in the Stars and Stripes outfit that he was wearing. And just an observation there. Also an observation, I wanted to fast forward through Lawler talking so fucking badly. I also got pretty irritated with the ref keeping Mark Henry away from the King.
Yeah.
After breaking holds and making moves. What the fuck? What was that? But I do have to give credit where credit is due. The King was working and selling perfectly. Nobody can ever take Jerry Lawler's ring work away from him whenever he's actually engaged in doing it right. The theatrics is what kept it down for me. I loved Mark Henry working the knees into the King, moving diagonally across the ring. That looked fucking badass. He just was putting those knee lifts up into the King's gut and working him across. That looked great. I also loved the backbreaker as a submission finisher for Mark Henry. That suits Mark Henry perfectly. He pulled it off well. He looked great doing it. What I didn't love, though, was the appearance of the New Rockers to attack Mark Henry. But then I was getting like really pissed off. But then when Hunter Hearst Helmsley came down too, I started to understand what was going on. And it all came together for me. The final visual of Mark Henry putting Helmsley into a full military press to throw Helmsley out of the ring and onto the New Rockers. That was great. It was a great visual and really just an amazing way to get new talent over. Thankfully, I hope we don't have to go down Mark Henry versus the New Rockers. We don't have to go down that road at all. Maybe Hunter Hearst Helmsley, which would not be bad. But just overall, like we want people to be impressed by Mark Henry, and that sure as hell did it for me. I thought it looked great. And, you know, all in all, I have to say that I was pretty down on this match at the start, mostly due to the King. But as new as Mark Henry is to the business here, he took to it like a fish to water. He did really well in this match. He barely looked green at all, in my opinion. And I suspect a big part of that was due to working with Jerry Lawler. So, once again, credit where credit is due. But I will cap this off by saying that this was a solid 3-star match for me. Ryan, what did you think of it?
We start off, Henry's using his power to throw the King around and into the corner. And I thought, you know, Lawler did a good job of playing that cartoon villain where he kind of realizes that maybe he made a mistake egging on this monster, you know. Lawler does a good job at doing that stuff. Could have done without the 5 minutes of ribbing on the crowd, but that's what we get at this point. But what really annoyed me was the ref. You briefly touched on it, but man, it really got to me because every time Henry started on something, he launches the King into the corner. The ref stops him from following up with anything. Does that make any sense?
No.
Have we ever watched a wrestling match where you're not allowed to continue to hit your opponent after you launch them into the corner?
Yeah, it makes me wonder, what were they trying to kill time maybe, or what was going on there?
I don't get it. I mean, the King takes a pretty brutal bump is for someone that is, you know, close to retirement as far as wrestling age goes. He's thrown outside of the ring through the ropes and into the crowd barrier. But guess what? The ref stops Henry from going outside the ring and following up with anything. You know, at times Henry looked really good. You know, Bartlett, you stated, barely looked green for the most part. And, you know, maybe part of that is the King and the other part of that is he could just make up some of it with his strength. You know, he could do things that a lot of other people can't. And I thought his finisher looked great as well. The stuff with Leif Cassidy and Marty Jannetty especially and Hunter coming down could have done without that. But I gotta say, I was expecting this match to be significantly worse maybe than it was, just because of the antics that we've seen as of late. And I might have been a little bit closer to you giving it a 2 or a 3-star, but this ref really fucking dragged me down. And I couldn't go more than a 1-star just because he pissed me off so fucking much.
Oh, wow. I think that's a first for the Wrasslin Raw podcast. The ref dragging down a star rating.
Shame on him.
Yeah.
I mean, we start with the usual Lawler antics, but it wasn't too bad. He does slap Mark Henry in the face. If I was to slap Mark Henry in the face, just please put me 6 feet under, because I don't want to live to see what he does to me. That part of it, it's like, okay, Mark Henry would, maybe that's why they did that with the ref, because Mark Henry would destroy this man, like in an actual fight. You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe that's why they did that, but I hated that too with the ref. I went into this I looked at this as like a celebrity match, almost similar to Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam.
Yeah.
Even though Mark Henry is on the roster now, he's not a wrestler. He's still training. So, you know, he's in this match with a very strong veteran that can carry him through a match. And I thought it went pretty well. And guess what? The crowd was really into it.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, the Rockers come out and Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and I'm thinking like, this is so fucking random. I don't understand what's going on. But it was good for the crowd. The crowd fucking loved it. They loved seeing Helmsley get tossed out of the ring like that onto the Rockers. So, it gave something for the live crowd to enjoy. I give it 2 stars. This match was not well received at all at the time.
Because of the ref?
Nothing about the ref, but Meltzer gave it a dud rating and has said that Mark Henry showed nothing.
Well, that's just
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3-star because I was so genuinely surprised at how good it was. I was expecting a much worse match than this. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
I was too, given how Mark Henry has said that he was the shits when he started and had to go to the dungeon to train again.
Yeah, but I didn't think he looked bad.
But yeah, this wasn't bad.
Fuck Dave Meltzer, I guess. At the next pay-per-view, Undertaker and Mankind are going to have a buried alive match. That was pretty good news, but the bad news side of that is that it kind of telegraphs that the Undertaker is going to beat Goldust here.
I thought you were going to say the bad news was someone's going to die.
They're going to be buried 6 feet under in this unsanctioned match.
Yeah, well, there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be somebody that's dead already.
Okay.
That's true. Who's already risen from the dead multiple times.
Yeah, he's good. He'll dig himself up. He's good. And as you said, the buried alive match will be unsanctioned because, and I quote, someone will literally be buried alive. We got a video package then highlighting the history between Undertaker and Goldust, which takes us into our next match. The Undertaker defeats Goldust with Marlena by pinfall in 10 minutes and 53 seconds in a curtain call match. Marlena looked amazing as always. I will never not lead off with that whenever she's in a match.
Side and under cleavage.
Yes, from every possible camera angle, zoomed in. Pretty sure we could have given her a breast cancer exam with some of the camera angles. I was instantly impressed with the aggression of The Undertaker to start this out, and we got a 1-2. No, he didn't.
Immediately.
Within the first minute of the match. That made me think of you, Joe. And then Vince saying Goldust with his histrionics. Like, who the hell is he talking to with this?
Hooked on phonics?
Histrionics. JR kind of ribbed him about it a little bit right after that. But, seriously, who's your fucking audience here, Vince? Histrionics. Goldust was looking great at the start of this. He was selling his ass off. And I was a little put off at first by the gold dust to the face. There was a spot where Goldust reached into Marlena's purse or whatever that was to pull out golden dust to throw in the Undertaker's face while the ref was being distracted. But I liked what they did with the distraction there. The Undertaker picking Marlena up, Marlena selling it, and then the dust gave us an excuse to believe that Goldust could take the upper hand. It was just really great storytelling going on there in the ring and a really effective use of the distraction, effective use of, an outside implement to kind of handicap the Undertaker. Once the match got back going again, I loved Goldust lifting Undertaker's hair out of the way before punching him. I don't know. Something about that was just perfect for me.
It was good.
And, I got to be honest, guys, I spent a lot of time just watching this match and enjoying it. I was sucked in. I was engaged. It was just, this is the kind of shit that I like to watch. The Undertaker exploding on Goldust in the corner was a great visual, doing those rabbit punches to the kidneys. And the tombstone finish was a great visual too. Like I said, I spent a lot of time just absorbed in this, and there wasn't anything that I could point out as a negative. I went with 4 stars on this. Joe, what did you think of it?
Well, we heard on the Go Home show that The Undertaker was going to premiere a new Undertaker. We didn't know what he was talking about. I still don't quite know what he's talking about, unless he just means a really pissed off Undertaker.
With no hat or jacket.
Yeah, no hat, no jacket, but he still has the same look but yeah, he was a lot more aggressive here, but he's been kind of aggressive with Mankind anyway. So nothing really that different, but yeah, I mean, we didn't get the typical Undertaker entrance. That was different. I really liked the use of Marlena in this match a lot. Bartlett, you mentioned the gold substance, as Vince would call it. Slipping that to Goldust so he could throw it at the Undertaker, and then the Undertaker picking her up like he was going to slam her or throw her, and her selling of that was great. And the match itself was I didn't think it was particularly good or bad. I mean, there was some good stuff here, but nothing really out of the ordinary other than those things with Marlena. And I'm still a little bit disappointed to see Goldust kind of descending a little bit. Like his character, like he's losing matches. He just hasn't been very strong since his Intercontinental title loss. But I don't know. I'm okay with it if they have him bounce back at some point. So I gave this 2 stars.
As it started, Goldust got his full pay-per-view widescreen entrance, and The Undertaker came down a little bit slower, but not the full entrance that we typically get from him. And soon as he hits the ring, we're back to this fast, brutal Undertaker that we've seen of late. And the announcers keep on reminding us of that, but, they're right. He's doing a great job of executing that storyline. It looks good every time he's trying to pull that off. So I got to give The Undertaker credit there. And I thought that the way it started with The Undertaker pretty much manhandling Goldust for a good part of this match. And usually something like Goldust to the eyes could be annoying, but I agree with you, Bartlett, that it just played into the story that this was the only way that Goldust was going to be able to get the upper hand, and this is kind of a classic old school textbook heel shit here. It's basically pocket sand to the eyes, I mean, that's what it is.
Shaw.
Yeah.
Mr. Fuji, the salt.
Yeah. It's the only way he could get anything up was to blind the dead man. And Mr. Perfect comes in perfectly here and reminds us that it doesn't matter if the ref saw it anyway. This is a no DQ match. So if the ref saw it anyway, doesn't fucking matter. Perfect timing by Mr. Perfect here. I completely agree with you, Bartlett. This is what I want to see out of The Undertaker. I thought they worked really well together. I was just kind of entertained with The Undertaker's antics. And yeah, it was a predictable win, but I went with a very solid 3 stars on this match. And I almost gave it a 4-star. To me, there just wasn't anything special about this match, but I did find it highly entertaining.
What, you didn't think that the pinfall victory stipulation was special?
No, I did not.
Joe, what did Meltzer think about it?
Apparently he didn't like the match. He gave it a 1.5 stars.
Jeez, stingy bastard.
That's Meltzer.
Yeah. He couldn't find the rest of those stars buried in the shit all over his office.
Yeah.
Kevin Kelly backstage with Shawn Michaels.
Sexy boy.
This was going into the main event, and I really liked this from Shawn. Shawn showed some fucking humility.
A lot.
Going up against Mankind.
Yeah.
This was probably the most babyface promo we've gotten out of him so far.
If I only had a brain.
Yeah. I mean, it was, for me at least, it was genuine. It made me sympathize with Michaels. And it was mostly because it centered around the fact that he was calling himself functionally brain dead. So
that platoon got to him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
16 army boots to the head. Got him back on track. But, like I said, it was a great lead-in for our main event. Shawn Michaels with Jose Letherio defeats Mankind with Paul Bearer by disqualification in 26 minutes and 25 seconds to retain the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. Along the same lines as that promo that led us into this match, Michaels gave off an aura of a nervous person here really well, and I really wish we could get more of this human Shawn Michaels more often. But then, as I was watching this, things took a weird turn once Mankind came back and got in the ring. Mankind had been sitting at the outside with the urn to regroup after being tossed out. And then once back in the ring, in the corner, it seemed like there was some miscommunication, maybe. Shawn got pissed off, yelled, "Come on!" at Mankind.
I'll stop you there because this was Mick Foley's idea to do that. This was a play. This was a play off of Shawn getting pissed at SummerSlam
with Vader.
Yes.
It looked like right after this happened, it looked like things got pretty stiff, and it felt like I was watching Shawn kick Vader in the side of the head.
Yes. Again. Yeah. Shawn Michaels said in an interview that Mick Foley said, "Hey, you know what I want to do? I want to play off of your SummerSlam thing with Vader, and I want you to get hot with me in the ring." And yeah, it was planned.
Wow.
Okay. It almost seemed like Mick stutter stepped him or something to try to get him pissed off.
Yeah, like he was supposed to go, I don't know, he was supposed to go into the corner where Shawn was and he didn't or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that helps to make it make sense because while I was watching this match, I honestly, I got on my phone and I was trying to look up, was this a shoot? Were they shooting right now or what? They sold it for me. My next note, sure enough, right after I got done typing that last note, the weirdness continued as Earl Hebner had to pull Michaels off of Mankind. Yet another ref pulling people apart. And when he did, Shawn kicked Mankind in the side of the head, just like he did with Vader. But then Mankind came back with what looked like a pretty stiff-as-hell punch before yelling, "son of a bitch," at Shawn. I was at the time watching
They got you.
They did.
You
I was
fucking
legitimately confused by this. Was it real? Was it a work? Did they plan on being that stiff? This is all shit I had in my notes here for this because it had me. Yes, I marked out on this. Mankind's leg on the steps whenever he gets thrown in there, it sounded rough.
Ooh, yeah.
Looked rough.
Better ice that leg after the match.
Or maybe jab it with a pen a few times.
Yeah. Michael's chop block to follow up. That was spot on there. But then Michael's shoving the referee out of the way. That confused the hell out of me again. Why is our babyface shoving the referee? Once again, though, I was pleased to say that I spent a lot of time just watching this. I was engaged. I enjoyed it. This is the kind of shit that I want to see on my TV screen when I'm sitting down for some wrestling. I got a little bit taken out of it when Michaels hung himself up in the corner like he does in just about every match that he's in. The camera angle was right there, and it didn't do anyone any favors because it more or less just highlighted Shawn working to hang himself up. The back and forth, attempting the suplex over the ropes, only to end with Michaels reversing Mankind into the ring post. Fantastic sequence. I loved that. And I also loved Mankind getting tied up in the ropes in that, strangle position where he lost an ear one time doing that. But it was still just good to see. I got the distinct feeling during this match that Jim Ross was holding himself back on commentary on account of Vince McMahon. There were a couple times where it sounded like Jim Ross was winding up to just really get into the call, and then he would just stop out of nowhere, and Vince McMahon would say some stupid fucking thing that Vince would say. There was some really great creative use of the chair, using it to injure the mandible claw hand. That was a great little bit of storytelling there. And it was strange to hear Earl Hebner yelling at Mankind to get back in the ring, but then be nice to Shawn Michaels. It was really, really weird. Just he acted a completely different way with each guy. Refs are supposed to be objective, goddammit. I loved Mankind's multiple pin attempts with different styles of pins. That was fucking awesome to see. And I also appreciated Jim Ross pointing out that the referee was being very lenient when Mankind was throwing chairs into the ring. He was being really goddamn lenient.
They didn't hit anyone with one.
Yeah. And then through the Mexican announce table. That was a really nice touch. I love seeing people go through the Mexican announce table, but, lenient fucking ref. But then when we got to the finish, that's when the illusion, the marking out, as you put it, ended for me. The super slow count from Hebner, terrible. Vader interfering, terrible. Paul Bearer hitting Michaels with the urn, as if the match wasn't already over. Vader comes in to interfere, the bell gets rung, the match is over, it's done with, but Paul Bearer still comes in to hit Shawn with the urn. Then Sid comes down, and then Mankind goes and puts the mandible claw on Michaels as if the match wasn't already over. Mankind tries to put Michaels in the casket as if this was a casket match and the match wasn't already over. I repeat these things because it's stuck in my brain like the match is over. Why are we doing all of this stuff now? But that got salvaged by two things. The first one is The Undertaker coming out of the casket. Surprised the hell out of me. I should have seen it coming, but I was marking out. What the fuck? And the second thing that redeemed that finish was Vince McMahon losing his voice. That was great. He had himself screamed out. For someone that just went through a grueling half-hour marathon of violence, he sure was upbeat at the end of this. Shawn Michaels, I mean, we cycled through Shawn's music 14 or 15 times. He showed the audience his ass cheek tattoo. Just got a very big, clear congratulations and handshake from Vince at the commentary table.
Can we see that tattoo again, pal?
Yeah. For the record, the final 7 minutes of this pay-per-view was Shawn's victory lap. This was a great match, all in all. You know, I honestly couldn't tell what was a work and what wasn't. It was able to suspend my disbelief throughout, and once it was over, I was still left asking if Shawn had had another hissy fit or if it was all pre-planned. And up until that finish, this was a 5-star match for me. But that slow count and Vader and Sid and that little bit of bullshit there, that took it down to 4 stars. Ryan, what did you think of it?
You know, at the beginning, we have Mankind. He comes down with the Druids carrying his casket. So I was thinking that maybe the Undertaker was going to come out with the Druids, but I guess we still have a little while before that. And I don't remember them ever coming down with Mankind. So that was something new for me. I loved JR at the beginning saying, if Mankind were to win the title, what would the WWF do? They would be challenged on trying to push this champion. But right from the start, we kind of get a hint as the tempo of this match when Mankind does a great-looking clothesline over the top rope to Michaels, and immediately Michaels comes back with slamming Mankind onto the concrete, then a crossbody onto the concrete, then slamming Mankind's head onto the concrete. And then JR comes back with great commentary saying Mankind probably enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Just good stuff there from everyone involved. That spot where Mankind and Michaels, it's fairly early on, but he's trying to apply the mandible claw, and they're fighting back and forth, and he's squealing, and then Michaels just starts punching him like it's a fucking street brawl, and it just looked great. I mean, this just all was really, really awesome looking shit, to be honest with you. They go after Mankind's leg after the suplex, and this didn't bother me because Michaels, he worked Mankind's leg in such an aggressive and intense way that it didn't come off as boring at all. And I also loved the spot where Michaels has Mankind tied up in a submission move, and he's trying to make his way to the ropes, and Paul Bearer places the urn on the curtain of the ring as an incentive for Mankind to crawl towards, and the moment he does, Paul Bearer starts wailing at the ref, "Get him off! Get him off!" I mean, the way that these guys just beat the living shit out of each other was just really fun to watch. And the spot where Mankind tied his head up in the ropes in the fashion that he lost his ear, I think was a real testament to just what a great professional these two are. Because Michaels comes over and you see him slip his arm between the rope and kind of flex to take the pressure off of Mankind's neck. And then to distract from that, Mankind immediately puts in the mandible claw, and they just kind of work the fighting over the mandible claw as they both work Mankind's head out of the ropes. It was just a really awesome, safe, but great looking move between these two. I just think it was a real highlight of the professional that these two are. You know, I could have done with a better ending. The disqualification slightly annoyed me, but, you know, the fucking barn burner that these two had, I couldn't take that away from it. Even thinking back at the match right now, I almost forget about the shitty ending because of all of the great spots in this. And it helped put Shawn Michaels over, you know, showing him fighting in a type of match that we have never really seen out of him before, really owning that most resilient name. He's really taken it home here. And even with this unfortunate ending, went with a 5-star because Mankind has had some great shit with The Undertaker so far, but if I'm going to be honest, this has been Mankind's best match by far so far that we've seen out of him. So I gave it 5 stars.
I had what I think was a first for me since starting this podcast. I watched this match twice.
Oh,
I
really?
fucking love this match. I have nothing negative to say about this match up until the end.
Yeah.
Because of that, I'm going 5 stars. I can't not give this 5 stars. This was an amazing piece of storytelling in the ring. You guys mentioned a couple things that JR said. My favorite thing that he said was, what does Shawn Michaels have to do to beat this deranged human being? You know, as he's just beating the hell out of Mankind and it's doing nothing to stop him. This is what we should have had at SummerSlam.
yes.
With Vader. And really, the ending of this match, to me, exposed Vader even more. Because we just watched 26 minutes of Shawn Michaels and Mankind. Vader comes in and just looks like a sloppy fat guy that can't move. And you got Mick Foley in there working his ass off perfectly selling everything. And then Vader comes in and it just looks fucking pathetic. And it's actually kind of sad, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to go through all the shit they did, but everything that they did was great, I thought. This really took me back to when The Undertaker first came in and they put him in that feud with Hulk Hogan. And it was like one of the first times
Like, holy shit, who is this monster?
Well, yeah, and it's like, well, one of the first times that like your biggest babyface is kind of in trouble here.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the first time that Shawn Michaels, that I thought like, oh, Shawn Michaels could actually lose his title tonight just by the way they worked. And Mick Foley to this day says that this is his best match.
Well, and Michaels puts it up there too. It's
Yeah.
one of his too. I mean, they both put it up there.
There's like a quick interview with Shawn Michaels. He kind of talks about that. That's where I saw him talking about, hey, Mick Foley was like, hey, I want you to get hot with me in the ring to play off SummerSlam. And yeah, he said that too. He said, I wish I could have worked with Mick more. It just never really worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was unbelievable. Mick Foley was, you know, like you said, Ryan, he was really doing a great job coming in here, working with The Undertaker. You know, it's like he was a soldier, but this he's a fucking made guy now, as far as I'm concerned. Like this was fucking great.
Yeah.
Meltzer, much like you guys, he did not like this finish. He gave it 4 3/4 stars. So
even though I didn't like the finish, I still couldn't take away from a 5.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Well, same with me. And yeah, the finish did suck. I mean, it was a sucky finish.
No doubt. But I forget it already.
Yeah.
But they're really protecting Mankind.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it allows Michaels to win, but it keeps Mankind as this undefeated, unstoppable monster for The Undertaker.
Right.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm based on what we're talking about here, I'm hearing Match of the Year candidate.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, I think for sure.
Okay, I'll add it to the list here.
I mean, I almost pulled a Jason Bartlett here and shed a tear during this match, but I didn't. I did want to give it a standing ovation, though. My God.
Yeah. You know, I kind of hinted at a couple weeks ago that this was going to be a special match, and I think it lived up to it.
Yeah.
And that's it. It is officially in the running for match of the year. There are 3 candidates so far. That makes match number 3.
Much better than 95.
Yeah, and really, and we'll talk about it at the end of the year, but I have a feeling that it's probably going to blow the competition out of the water. But anyway, now that we've discussed it, we really need to address the most important question of all. And that is, at a cost of $19.95, did you get your money's worth? Ryan, please.
At that discounted rate, abso-fucking-lutely. I mean, we had some terrible shit with Jose Letherio and Jim Cornette, but for the most part, most of the matches were strong. We had a great tag team match, a pretty solid match between Undertaker and Goldust, and then this match of the year candidate finish. So I would have to be deranged like Mankind to not get my money's worth out of this pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the main event alone is, these two guys showed exactly why they are first ballot Hall of Famers and put on one hell of a match. The answer is yes. I would have paid $19.99 or even double that to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would have paid more than $19.95 to see this pay-per-view. The one dud, the one bad rating was Cornette and Lothario, and for me, that got canceled out by the Stone Cold promo. Like, that just that was a wash.
Under a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with Stone Cold kind of canceling it out, that means for me, I didn't have less than a 3-star rating on any of these matches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very strong.
This, front to back, this is one of the strongest pay-per-views we've watched in the entire run of the podcast, I feel. So
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely got my money's worth.
The main event, you had the first ECW collaboration.
Yeah.
There's almost so much that we're forgetting about things. You know what I mean? That is great.
Yeah.
We're getting the setup for possibly the feud of the year next year with Stone Cold and Bret Hart. I mean, there's a lot of good shit happening here.
Just like Vince McMahon, I'm coming day and night over it.
Such a virile young man. Joe, what did the Wrestling Observer have in terms of numbers?
Well, the readers, they enjoyed this event. They gave 78% thumbs up, 12% thumbs down, and the rest in the middle. There were 170 reader votes for best match. Can you guess how many of those votes went to Shawn Michaels versus Mankind?
99%.
170 votes. Unanimous decision.
Wow.
Best match. And the worst match was voted Jim Cornette versus Jose Lothario. I know that's a big shock.
Shocker. Was that 100% as well?
No, actually, Jerry Lawler versus Mark Henry got some votes.
I mean,
came in second.
Don't get it.
They hated it.
It was all because of the ref.
Could be.
Guess. Yeah, I don't get that. But anyway, thank you, Joseph, for delivering that to us. And that is it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add @gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on social media and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and let your friends know how much cooler they would be if they became Rawheads like you and me. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be taking a break. That's right, you heard it. I have been instructed by my co-hosts to alert all of our listeners that I am an asshole, and it is my fault that you will not be treated to an episode next week, which is all true. I'm going to be enjoying myself at a heavy metal concert in Pittsburgh, so I don't really regret it. But the week after that, we'll be coming back to watch the episode that aired on September 23rd, 1996, with matches featuring Henry Godwin, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason. This has been Wrasslin Raw.